All right, everyone. Donald Trump is still talking about the possibility of annexing Greenland. I do not agree with the premise of invading Greenland, but there is a methodology by which we could annex that semi-sovereign territory to the appeasement of literally every party involved, other than maybe Denmark. Of course, right now, Greenland is a de facto territory, a protectorate, so to speak, of Denmark. Denmark does not have the ability to safeguard Greenland. They do not have the manpower and they do not have the naval and air capabilities to do so. While they're in NATO, and so that massively multiplies your capabilities, in a pinch, if Greenland were invaded by the Russians or something like that, it would fall to the United States to be able to defend it, assuming that the administration was willing. Greenland has a vast number of resources, minerals, fuel, and so forth. But under EU law, because they're a protectorate effectively of Denmark, a lot of that is off limits. So there's no way to actually enrich the Greenlandic population, of which there are only about 55,000 people. The United States, here's how it would work. The United States causes a secessionary movement within Greenland. They decide to part ways with Denmark entirely, with U.S. backing. And we tell the Danes, no, they're allowed to go their own way effectively. They become a fully sovereign nation. Greenland is not capable in and of itself of exploiting its resources either. There's simply not enough people there. Even outside of Europe, without the European regulations, it would be very difficult for them to do so. And the U.S. could say, well, hold a plebiscite, petition for annexation, we'll accept it. And so then they do that. And actually, this is a physical possibility, to tell the truth. Theoretically, Canada could do the same thing, but I don't think there's really the will there for such a maneuver. But would I support this? If Greenland were to rip itself away from Europe and petition, then under U.S. law, it is acceptable for our government to say, okay, you can join up as a territory and we can work towards statehood. I would say admit them and Puerto Rico at the same time as states. Pressure Puerto Rico to petition for statehood. They've been trying it for years and years. In fact, there was a referendum a few years ago in which Puerto Rico effectively did petition for that. It's been shelved at this time. What happens is that the parties that are against it, that either want to remain a territory or are left-wing, generally speaking, and want to become sovereign, they sit out the election, so there's never enough of a majority of voters there for admission. I would support admitting both of them at the same time, assuming that there's a similar petition for statehood. I know that, by the way, with Puerto Rico, a lot of people disagree with me. I would point out something that some Americans don't appear to know. Puerto Rico is not a state. It's just a territory. Puerto Ricans can come in from Puerto Rico to any other part of the country, gain residency in a state, they can vote, they can own guns, they can do whatever they want. They are U.S. citizens already. So again, that would be another problem with them establishing sovereignty, which is that probably what you would get is an overload of Puerto Ricans coming into the continental United States before such a plebiscite was held, basically. But with Greenland, it's different because it's a multi-step process. First, you have to get away from Denmark. Now you're a sovereign nation. Then you have to petition, get accepted as a territory, and then the statehood process has to begin. Ultimately, I would encourage the people of Greenland to go along with such an idea. Rip yourselves away from Denmark and join us, because Denmark is not capable of defending you, and you have vast amounts of land and resources that are looking awfully good to certain other actors that you may dislike a lot more than you would like the United States. Hell, the Constitution would be extended to you. You gain citizenship. I would love to go visa-free to Greenland. I'd love to see it. See the seals and all the water and, the slightly melted glaciers and stuff like that. It's a beautiful area. although there's only a small part of it that's really inhabitable. And so again, you've got a huge amount of resources for a very small amount of people. Not even the population. It's basically the population of all of Greenland is about equivalent to the population of my county here in Vermont. There's not a whole lot of arable land there. Growing crops, a little bit difficult outside of a greenhouse. But you have enormous amounts of fishing. You have a huge amount of minerals, a large amount of fuel. It would be mutually beneficial. Denmark is not allowing you to exploit all of these resources. There's all of these Euro regulations. Greenland's not even in the European... Greenland is closer to North America than it is to Europe. So it makes no sense. And apparently, a significant proportion of people in Greenland agree with the basic concept. That's the other thing. Trump is not being crazy when he says, well, we need to grab Greenland, but you don't even need to buy it. If Greenland has a secession movement, and we safeguard it and say, hands off, they've decided they want to be sovereign, then we can take the next step, assuming the people of Greenland actually want to do so. If they just want to be sovereign, then we simply strike up a good trade relation and a military relation with them. We will safeguard you. We're going to go in and invest, and, Americans and Greenlanders will both make a shit ton of money because you've got some of the world's greatest reserves in some of these minerals and shit, and we could really use them, and you could really use a bunch of money. You could probably also use a couple of U.S. destroyers patrolling your coasts to make sure there's no problems, no shenanigans going on. I would support that. I think that you don't have to fire a shot. The idea that Donald Trump would invade Greenland, that's not going to happen. You wouldn't invade the protectorate of an allied nation. But the sad fact is that Denmark cannot defend Greenland, and a significant proportion of Greenlanders apparently are not on board with continuing under Danish rule. Which makes sense. They're not even in the same continent. Arguably, Trump's position is anti-imperialistic, anti-colonialism. That's the huge irony, is that some of the things that he's talking about are anti-imperialistic. Look at Canada, for example, member of the Commonwealth under the British. Well, that system has been languishing now for quite some time. A number of countries have left the Commonwealth for a reason. If we were to liberate them, just offer them the option of annexation, become, a series of U.S. states, maybe we can pack the provinces, maybe we don't. Quebec would probably pull itself away at any given time. Who cares? I mean, number one, who's going to stop us? Number two, who gives a damn? It's like, okay, you've made more wealth. You're now under a system that makes more sense and doesn't have a monarchy or something like that. I see that as an improvement. Same with the Panama Canal. That zone was ours anyway. We're the ones that built the goddamn canal. The French rage quit because so many people were dying of yellow fever, and the United States ended up making it. Kick out the Chinese imperialists in that general region, overthrow the Panamanian government, let us come in, we'll build another lock, maybe 2 or 3, who knows. Just give us a military base and a political presence, and we'll sweeten the deal. We'll pay off your national debt. If Donald Trump proposes such a thing, it would be a masterful move. And the people, I think, there would support it. Maybe we should look at trying to cause a secessionary movement in the Philippines, too. Because, we liberated you before, and the Philippines are pretty bro-tier. Filipinos are cool. And that would be fun. Man, can you imagine you can fly to the Philippines without a passport? That would be pretty great. I'm just saying that the food alone would be worth it. Lots of lemongrass and stuff like that. Yes, the United States should assert itself in the world, and but we should always sweeten the deal. Don't abuse anyone. No invasions. No warmongering or anything like that. Just diplomacy. Just encouraging people, hey, look, under our laws, your entire nation can petition for annexation. You can be admitted as a territory. That would be great. That's about all. Peace out.